Good morning, fish keepers. Cam here from the fishroom.co.nz. We've done it. We've made it to Friday. Let's do coffee. Oh, I haven't filled my water. That's good. So, just a little bit of housework before we chop into our live stream. This will be the last Fanatics Friday coffee date for the year. We normally tend to stop doing them with our guests at the end of November, beginning of December. So this will be our last one that we do. Very unlikely, but not impossible, that we'll do them without guests coming up for the next couple of weeks as well. But this will definitely be our last live stream that we have with a guest. So I hope you all enjoy this one. It should be a cracker. That is enough of me talking. We'll bring up our guest. Good afternoon, Josh.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much for being with us. It is really appreciated. So for those that don't know who you are, do you want to just give everyone a bit of a blurb, or let people know who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Josh Cunningham. I'm the owner of Cunningham Tropicals. So we've been in business for 12 years now. We started our business as Cunningham Cichlids, rebranded in February of 2024 to Cunningham Tropicals because we're expanding to carry more variety of fish other than just African cichlids where we started. So we felt it was important to rebrand the name. And then we also jumped into our private label fish food brand that we have, Cunningham Tropicals, that we sell here online in the U.S. and also is in stores here in Michigan and Ohio where we're licensed to put it in local fish stores now.
Cool. So you've gone from basically African cichlid focus to a far wider variety of fish.
Correct, yes. Now we carry plecos, Central American, South American cichlids, Corydoras, which they're not Corydoras anymore. They've been all reclassified into 3 different genuses, but also tetras and your community fish, stuff like that now, to be more of a well-rounded e-commerce fish business.
Cool. So that was purely a business decision as opposed to a personal, private, I want to keep these fish sort of thing?
Correct. But now I am enjoying that I did that because I'm not a big fan of Central Americans because I don't like too big fish in one tank. But I have some Central Americans. I actually got a pair of dovi that I spawned. So it's been kind of interesting now that I see the fun with the Centrals where the people, for the people that keep those. So it has opened my eyes to a totally different variety of fish, and I am enjoying it. So I'm glad we did it.
It's interesting. I started with African cichlids, and then starting the shop kind of found my way into things like Corydoras and tetras, which I'd never had really much any interest in. So I can totally resonate with exactly what you've just said. What inspired you to get into the aquarium hobby? How did you start?
I started back when I was in the Marine Corps. I was married at the time. I had an apartment, so I wanted to get some fish for my apartment. So I went into a store and actually did what I do not recommend now. I went and just picked up some Jack Dempsey's and Oscars and got a couple 20-gallon tanks and put them in there. Now I would not do that because obviously a 20-gallon tank is way too small for those types of fish. But and I was getting off of my active duty deployment, and I went into a store to trade them in. And I found this little striped fish, which is known now today as our frontosa, African cichlid. So I found a little Burundi that I traded my Oscars and Jack Dempsey's for, and I brought him back to Michigan. This is back in 1998. And then I seen an ad in my local paper in Monroe, Michigan, where I was living with my parents at the time, and it said African cichlids for sale. So I called the guy up and said, "Hey, can I come check out your fish?" Went over his house down in his basement, and he had 300-gallon tanks built in his basement wall. One was 2 different breeding groups of frontosa colonies, the Kagomas and the Mipibwis, and then he had one male show tank. And from there, I was hooked. Where do you get these fish? What are they? And he became my best friend for a while. And so then I really got into cichlids and started breeding for some local stores and stuff like that too for over the couple of years.
What was the moment that made you think, I'm going to go from being a general hobbyist breeding for shops to I'm going to do it myself and have a crack at doing that?
Well, to be honest, my divorce. So I have an 1,100 square foot basement. I like fish. I said I might as well put a fish room in my basement. So at one time I had 140 tanks down here. Now I have 100 tanks down here that I
Yeah.
maintain anywhere from 15 gallons to 180 gallon tanks. So I also felt the need, all the electricity, the water, everything I'm using. If I turn it into a business, I'm able to write those items off through my taxes for a certain percentage. So to run the fish room, I felt it was better and more economical to launch a business. So
Cool. Just clarification: the divorce wasn't because of the fish, was it?
no, it was not. I was not into it. It was because of my day job was taking a lot of my time traveling and working. So
Cool. There's still hope for me not to get a divorce for fish then.
oh, yeah, you're hopeful. Yeah.
Cool. So what's been some of the biggest challenges that you've had when you've gone from hobbyist to business?
Biggest thing is just getting known, marketing, right? Get your name out there. Everybody still today knows me for cichlids, but it's still got to tell them I don't just keep cichlids. I keep other things as well. Just again, getting your name out there. Another, and another challenge is there's even doing this today is there's everybody pops up today, tomorrow that does African cichlids. So it's a very competitive business to be in, but it's a fun business. That's for sure.
Is there many or much competition in your area?
Not so much in my area, but online there's competition. So
Yeah. I'm assuming that there is significant competition in America online for pretty much everything in the fish industry.
Yes, very much so.
Cool. Have you got any mentors or role models that have sort of helped you or guide you through hobbyist to business point?
Yeah, I mean, one of them I would say would be we went to in here in Ohio, we just got back this past weekend from what is called the Ohio OCA Extravaganza. So the Ohio Cichlid Association puts on a show every weekend, every year, weekend before Thanksgiving. It's vendors. It's a neat show. People come in, they sell out of their hotel rooms. So people literally will break down beds and set up racks of tanks and stuff in their hotel room. So you walk the rooms, shop for fish, and then you can come in the vendor room and shop with us vendors. So we were set up there this past weekend. So the first year that I went there, I ran into who's a good friend of mine today, Glenn Mason. And I didn't know anything about Tanganyikans, and I followed him around the whole weekend like a puppy dog, and he was great. Until today, we're really good friends today. Another role model, I'd say Dave Schumacher. Dave's Rare Fish over here in San Antonio, Texas. Another great friend of mine. We're in business. We both sell online, but we're really great friends. So that's what's great about this hobby. Even though I have competition online, we can still be friends. We can still help each other out. If you come to me and you're looking for XYZ fish, if I don't have it, but I know somebody else has it, I'm going to tell you, hey, go talk to Dave. Go talk to Steve at Steven Cichlids. He's down in Mansfield, Ohio. There's enough business for all of us, so there's no reason why if I send you to somebody else, you're going to remember that, and hopefully I'm going to have a fish one day you want, and you're going to come back, and purchase that fish from me. So
that's a great mindset for sure. Has your journey as an entrepreneur shaped your perspective on the aquarium hobby, or has it sort of adjusted the way you've thought about the aquarium industry?
I mean, it's adjusted it for sure. When I go down to my wholesalers' farms and I see the work for the first time, see how they got 3 people and they're catching, tons of orders. And, when you're back here and you're dealing with them, send them an email. Hey, can you send me a list? I'd like to order this. Or, hey, do you have, pictures of this, pictures of that? These guys don't have time for that. So that for one changed perspective of how the farmers work and the environment that they have to work in, and all the hard work they put in to produce the fish and be able to provide the fish to us, for retail. So that was one perspective. The other perspective was I'm really big into local fish clubs. So I think it's important that, you got a local fish club, and your local fish club supports your local fish stores and your vendors around as well in the area, because without local fish stores, we wouldn't have access to to some of the fish and some of the aquatic items that we need. So, when I went online, I'm like, what do you need stores for, right? But now coming back, you still need stores. We need them to, stay around.
Do you allow walk-ins?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
With appointment. Yep, I do, because I do it out of my house. So on my website, you can book appointments and stuff.
Yeah, cool. Just want to sort of branch into your fish food. What made you go down that route and get involved in that?
Well, when I started e-commerce, I was selling everybody else's food. So I would sell Extreme. I sold Rapashi, Northfin, Cobalt, even Piscine Energetics, which is a company out of Canada that sells their foods made with PE mysis shrimp. So I did that for a couple of years, and I'm like, this is silly. Why am I selling everybody else's food? So I looked into what it would take to acquire food in bulk and be able to private label it and then sell it online and also get it licensed through the state of Michigan Agricultural Department and state of Ohio to be able to offer it to local fish stores as well.
Is it your own formula that you've sort of created or adjusted for?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Now that we got a foothold, we're working towards that. So now our wholesaler has offered, if we want to change formulas, we want something made specifically for us, he's willing to entertain that now. So we're working towards that route.
Okay, cool. You've just answered that question I've got in the last part. Can you explain the research process that has sort of got into the developing of it? How did you go from idea to finding who you're looking for to kind of working all that way through to packaging, sampling, testing, the whole kind of thing?
Well, as far as over here, there's only a handful of fish food manufacturers that you can work with. And there's only a handful of them. One of them that I started working with, they wouldn't entertain any new formulas or anything for me. They said, you buy ours and that's all you can do. Yeah. So I started talking there's 3 or 4 that I know of over here. So I worked with a couple of them to see who would be willing at some point, if I show my purchase power, sell your product for now, build a business relationship, if you'd be willing to entertain eventually adjusting the formula or making stuff specifically for me. So I landed on one that was willing to do that, provided I purchased, a certain amount. We worked together well in business, and so we're at that point.
What's the core ingredients of it?
The main ingredient right now is catfish meal.
Okay, cool. So I don't think I've seen a food with catfish meal in it. I'm assuming that is, correct me if I'm wrong, like catfish out of like the ones that they put their hands in for, that kind of big catfish.
Yes.
Sort of is where I'm thinking. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. What are the benefits of using that? Like obviously there's a lot of other stuff that use different sort of fish or different sort of seafood. Is there any benefits to using that particular variety?
It used to be made with salmon meal, and to be honest, I'm not 100% familiar why he changed to catfish meal. I'm assuming the availability and probably the cost of the product. Catfish meal is a little cheaper to purchase versus the salmon meal.
Yeah. Cool. How have you gone through like trial and testing for yourself? I'm assuming you would have got samples and started feeding everything out. Was there things you were looking for, things you weren't looking for? How did that process personally work for you?
Biggest things I look for when I feed fish, one, their appetite, how aggressive they are when they go for it. Another thing is, does it bloat them out? Because pellets, when you feed your fish pellets, they expand in the fish's gut. So how does that work, of how well they are made? The other thing is the poop, the amount of poop that comes out of the fish from the fillers and stuff to see, because depending on what food you feed, if it's higher in fillers, you're going to have a lot more cleanup you're going to need to do in your aquarium. So with this food, I have very little issues with how much I feed my fish. It doesn't bloat them out. I don't have any extra maintenance I need to do to clean the tank based on what I feed them or how much I feed them. So it fits for what I fits the check marks for what I was looking for, and they do well on it. They're very aggressive when they go to it.
Cool, awesome. Excuse me, I've got a really croaky voice this morning. Hopefully that makes it a little better. Being that you are now in the retail sector, and you're obviously dealing with public, how do you deal with beginner fish keepers and sort of helping guide them through the initial journey of getting into the hobby?
Initial fish keepers, what was that? How do I help with them?
Yeah, how do you help guide them into the hobby, try and minimize mistakes or maximize the impact that learning opportunities have?
Well, if you come to purchase fish from me, you're gonna get about 10 questions before I'm gonna sell you fish. How big's your tank? How long you been keeping fish? What are you keeping? So if you just tell me cichlids, okay, what kind of cichlids? Like South Americans, Centrals, Africans, what do you have? If you have Africans, do you have haps, peacocks, a mix? How is your tank filtered? So there's a lot of times people come over to here and they'll have their mindset in purchasing a fish, and once I find out what they have in their aquarium, I'll instruct them that's not a good purchase to make. And a lot of times they leave. They appreciate my honesty, and I turn down business. But I want you to be happy. I don't want to sell you something and then it's, for example, I had one customer that she keeps peacocks, and I had a really nice 7-inch Lynchochromis acudiceps, a Malawi gar. And I have a group of my own that I breed, so I know from breeding them, that's considered a predator haplochromis in our mind because of the size and the way the fish is. However, it's not a predatory fish aggressive-wise. So I have a lot of customers that end up putting their Lynchochromis acudiceps in their peacock tank. So she took it home, and she's about 25 minutes from here or whatever. So she put it in her tank, and I made a deal with her. I said, give it a couple of days. If it doesn't work out, you can bring it back. And a couple of days later, she said it's still working out, not aggression. And to this day, the fish works. But so I make sure if you're a customer of mine when you leave, I try to set you up for success, because I don't want you, if you lose your fish, you spent money. Now you just lost your fish, right? And then 2, you get discouraged if you decide to get out of the hobby. This hobby is not cheap to get into, for one. And then when you decide, okay, I'm done, I want to get out, I want to sell everything, you just did all that hard work for nothing because of education, or, you had a bad experience, right? So.
Do you think there's been a bit of a landscape change in the last 2 or 3 years on people stocking and small stores trying, I don't want to say to correct previous knowledge, but trying to get to that correct on the first time round? And obviously, like you said, you're happy to turn down business if it isn't the right fit or isn't going to work to your beliefs. Do you think there's been a bit of a push towards that kind of thing?
I mean, I see that when I work with my local fish stores. I don't see that in a lot of your Petcos, your PetSmarts, your box stores here, right? I mean, they don't quarantine process. All my fish are quarantined for a week if they're brought in locally. If they're brought in through a transshipper from overseas, they're quarantined for up to 3 weeks before I let fish go. You go in the Petco, PetSmart, they get fishing on a Wednesday, and they're in the tank, and they're in somebody else's tank that night, right? And then the fish dies, and why did it die? Well, it should have been, if you shipped it and you properly prepared it, you should have starved it for a couple of days to fast it to get it ready for shipping. And then you can't drop it in a tank and then you sell it to somebody else. That fish just went through so much stress in that little bit of time. And people don't understand that. So, I mean, I have a lot of customers that I want this fish, I want that fish. Okay, well, you can come on this day and they'll be available.
Speaking of,
because a lot of people don't have quarantine tanks either. Even though I recommend a quarantine tank, I have customers that'll take even when I ship fish in, right? They'll take their fish that they just got out of their tank, out of the box, and they drop it in their show tank, which we don't recommend. So we at least want to make sure we quarantine our fish the best we can before we sell it.
I personally believe that stress is like the unmonitored or the unsort of realized issue with a lot of fish in transit. And I've found that when we get fishing, it's around about the 10-day mark that if we're going to have any major issues, it kind of happens. Have you noticed any trends or when you get fishing? Is there a specific time that things sort of happen or begin to calm down for them?
Usually, I'll see about 5 to 6 day mark.
Yeah.
Where something's going to develop, I'll see something develop. And when we bring our fish in, we treat them with nutrifurazone. We treat them with erythromycin for any, and then we have our medicated food that we feed that has oxycycline in it. So we have sticks and flakes that we sell online that we feed all the new fish that come in to try and make sure there's no internal parasites as well with them.
We don't get pretty much any of those chemicals, so I am very jealous and envious that you do.
Oh, I know it's very hard outside the U.S. and they're even making it harder. Like, for example, my medicated food, Ohio said that's fine, I can sell it to stores. Michigan said nope, you can't sell it to stores. What Michigan wanted me to do was, so if you want to buy medicated flake from me, they wanted me to have you go to a vet, get a prescription, and then I could sell you that medicated flake. I'm like, I'm not doing all that for fish food. I mean, it gets crazy sometimes.
Yeah. What sort of percentage of fish come in with some sort of internal parasite issue?
Probably about 30-40%.
Yeah.
Depending on where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there some sources that are worse than others?
Yeah, usually if they're coming from overseas, sometimes Indonesia could be worse, or some different farms over there could be worse than others. My main wholesaler out of Florida is really good with fish that I get it from him. So.
How can hobbyists kind of recognize if they're having internal issues with their fish?
How do I help them?
Well, how can hobbyists recognize if they're having sort of internal issues with their fish?
Oh, one thing is watch the poop. If the fish have white stringy poop, that's usually a sign of an internal parasite. Also, their appetite. You know, how are they eating? Are they eating but not putting on weight? That's another thing you have to watch for. You know, gasping, breathing really heavy. Do they got stuff in their gills? Is it really red and inflamed?
Does your medicated food cover a wide variety of internals, or is it kind of specified for one or two sort of things?
It's specified mainly for like stringy poop, stuff like that. And also it has garlic in it. So also it's supposed to entice the fish to eat. So if your fish isn't eating, usually they will come and try to pay it some attention and try to eat it. So
how does the formula of your fish food change for sort of different species or different groups of fish that it's targeting to feed?
Well, we have multiple varieties. So we have everything from algae wafers. If you have plecos, corridors will eat it. My cichlids will eat algae wafers. We sell a variety of sticks from blackworm sticks to bloodworm micro sticks, medicated sticks. We have plankton, krill, spirulina sticks, vegetable sticks. If you have fish that are mainly vegetarians, spirulina micro sticks and spirulina pellets. And then we get into our different types of pellets we have, where the main staple Central South American cichlids are just your general variety community fish. And then when you get to our flake foods, we have different beef heart. We have beef heart flake. A lot of people like that for their discus.
Cool.
We have blackworm flake. We have a customer base that feeds a lot of that to their corridors. Brine shrimp flake, color flake, cichlid flake, earthworm flake. We have a soldier fly flake, a plankton krill, spirulina flake, as well as the stick. We have a spirulina with garlic and paprika flake. And we have what we call our special blend flake, which is a mix of, we make here, it's our color flake, cichlid flake, brine shrimp flake, spirulina, vegetable, earthworm, plankton krill, all mixed into one, as well as the tropical flake that we offer as well. So we make one big mix, and that's what our fish here get. Mm-hmm. Unless you're my group of Petrochromis over there, then they mainly get vegetarian flakes and sticks, but all the rest of the fish get our special blend flake mix that we do.
Cool. Sounds like you've got a pretty extensive range, or a bit of something for everybody, depending on what they're keeping, as opposed to just a lot of people or brands are just a flake, a scrape and a Pleco tablet water, and that's kind of it. So yeah.
No, we have 18 or 19 different varieties of food we offer right now.
Wow.
And we're looking at expanding into the freeze-dried food market as well.
Cool. Have you seen an adjustment in the food side of the industry in the last few years? Like I've definitely noticed that the insect larvae products have come through significantly stronger. More manufacturers are creating them now, and it seems to be pushing away, or at least an alternative to the fish meal products.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing more companies like, for example, Seachem, right? They were just a chemical company. Now Seachem has a food, probably 10 different varieties of food that they offer. So I'm seeing more companies that were not food manufacturers in the beginning, now lean towards adding products to their offerings. You're also seeing companies that are getting purchased. So Omega One, for example, just got purchased not too long ago by Spectrum Brands, who owns Black & Decker. They own Marineland. So Omega One's going through a big food overhaul with their offerings and what sizes they're offering to stores, condensing, stuff like that.
I didn't know that. Do they also do the Tetra brand food, Spectrum?
Yes, they do. Yep.
I didn't know that. Omega One's just been taken off or in the process of leaving the shelves here in New Zealand.
Okay.
We were told that it was something to do with different product sizing, container sizing, and availability and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't aware that it was because it's changed hands.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I did not know that. Cool. And what role does nutrition play in preventing diseases in fish?
It plays a big role. So to me, you have stress, water quality, nutrition. Those are all your top 3 factors that you really need to watch when you're keeping your fish.
Cool. So how do you control all of those things, particularly because you're obviously running an in and out type system, fish coming in, fish coming out, totally different to hobbyists. How do you control that?
So all my tanks are individual. There's not one tank that's connected to anything. So everything's its own separate system. We have here we have an automated water change system that runs on all our tanks on the walls, outside walls. So our 15, 20-gallon tanks and all our 40 gallons and even some 75s, they get water changes 3 days a week automatically through our system. And our other tanks, we water change at least once a week. Let's see if I can flip. Oops. I don't know if I can flip the camera around or maybe. There we go. All right, there we go. So yeah, here's our auto water change system. It's 6 valves, so 6 zones. It's all Wi-Fi controlled off a Ratio Wi-Fi controllers. Cool. So I can do it off my phone where I'm at. Doesn't matter. Everything runs through carbon filters, so I don't use any dechlor in my water at all. Because I have carbon block filters that remove any chlorine we have. We don't have any chloramines where I'm at, so that's good. So
I'm assuming that each one of those zones goes to a different sort of setup.
Yeah,
do you want to sort of run us through in and then all the way out as well? Because that looks pretty complex and pretty cool at the same time.
So yeah, we start here. We have a thermostatic mixing valve that mixes my hot and cold water first. That feeds the system, and then when I turn it on, what it'll do is it'll trigger the sprinkler valve to open. This is a pressure regulator, so it reduces the pressure to 30 psi's. I got a check valve, so water can't come backwards in the system. It just goes out. So this is my zones 1 and 3 feed over to my racks, and my zones 4, 5, and 6 feed across to all my wall tanks over there. And then all the tanks are like these tanks here. They're all drilled in the back here. And then I got a water feed that comes in here. So I know when it's running, it's putting new water with old. So I know when it drains, I'm losing new water with old water. So it's not exactly a 20% new water change. So I run it for a little bit longer just to compensate for the mixing of the old water and new water.
Yeah. So they just on little like irrigation dripper type things water in?
No, it'll fire. Let's see here. See if I can turn that zone on real quick. Retio, where are you at? Oops, utilities. Where's my utilities at here? Where did they go? Hold on 1 second. Sorry, can't find where they go. There it is.
I'm assuming because we've lost the vision of Josh that he's on his phone, and because of which, with the system that we use, start playing with other stuff on your phone, it takes the camera off from memory. So. Hope everybody is enjoying this little bit of nerding out when it comes to water change systems. I definitely am.
Yeah, so I just turned it on. So there, I don't know if you can see the stream that's flowing there in the back there.
Cool.
So it just puts in constant water for as long as it's. So I turned it on for a minute, so it'll just fill water for a minute.
Yeah. Cool. And how does the outlet side of it work? Just straight drain, straight out the drain, straight gone. No treatment or anything afterwards.
No, so it'll fill up and then just drain out behind into PVC pipe that all runs over here to my. Ignore my mess, but it all just runs to my sump. And same thing with all the drains on this wall. It's all drained, plumbed behind the tanks. These are drilled on the side here. So this is something new we just got into, some discus here this past weekend. So these are some red pigeon bloods.
Cool. So like you said, then it just drains out to your sump. Does that then just go straight out into the wastewater to wherever it goes? Yep.
Yeah, into my sewer. Yep, to the sewer system. Yep.
Gosh, that's really cool. And then
all these tanks in the middle, I got to drain manually. So I got a pump that I use and just pump them out because I didn't want to have, with customers coming over, I didn't want to have PVC running across the floor in the way or anything or be a trip hazard. Plus, these are custom tanks I made. So this is a custom 160. So based on the cost of the tank, I also didn't want a chance of breaking it when I drilled it. So
have you done all of this work yourself?
Yes.
Wow, that's very impressive. Cool. Do you want to? So everything's run by sponge filter as well, by the look of it, for the best part.
Box filters actually.
Yeah.
Old Lustar box filters. So I used sponge filters back in the day, but when I had 140 tanks, it became quite a bit of work to change sponge filters all the time. So I looked at something a little bit more less time constraint from a maintenance standpoint, and I found these box filters that Gemco here had got the mold from Lustar, who's out of business, but they were able to remake them. So I went to that. So when I do maintenance, I just change the floss, drop them back in, move on to the next one. So it's a lot easier to do my maintenance.
Is that a really, really big rock, or is that handcrafted?
So all my tank decor is made by a company called Universal Rocks out of Garland, Texas. So all my backgrounds, that's one of their rocks that they make. This is another one of their backgrounds. This is my personal Lynchochroma secutus breeding group. And then that's another rock there that I flipped upside down. It was a foam rock made for the reptile enclosures. So I turned it upside down to give it some depth. Yeah. And then with Central South Americans, I used some, different types of driftwood. So these are what used to be the Vieja Cinespilums that I'm growing out.
Yeah. Do you have like specific zones in your fish room or fish that are yours, your own personal fish you don't sell, or is it all just kind of wherever it is for the time being and you just allow people to browse and say these ones aren't for sale kind of thing?
Yeah, I just marked the tank like this is my group. It's not for sale.
Oh, yeah.
I won't sell these guys either. I'm trying to see if this is a pair of bred Severums.
Yeah.
This is the male. I know that. I don't know if that's a female or not. I lost the female, and so I'm trying to see who will tolerate. Right now, for a while, he's tolerated this one, but so I don't know if it's a female or not, though. So I'm waiting to see. So this tank is my tank. When people ask, I'm like, oh, those aren't for sale. Those are mine for now that I'm trying to see if I can do something with them.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the tank size and what the fish are, because this is the other tank that's planted. This is my personal tank too, with my multifisciatus and my tricolor cyprichromis that are growing out.
Cool. Gosh, red severums are a criminally underrated fish.
Yes, they are.
They are just next level of brightness when they get big.
But you also can't tell males and females since they're man-made. So here's some these are some Herolibirfifers, some mouth brooding severum, 2 pairs.
Cool.
That I have. I just threw our mix of, we feed our fish here pellet wise. We feed them a mix of our high color pellet as well as earthworm pellet, brine shrimp pellet, and spirulina pellets that we mix together and feed all the fish. So that's what I just fed them.
Gosh, the colours on that are spectacular. Do you want to run us, while we're looking at your fish room, do you want to run us through some of your fish, some of your tanks, and show us what you've got at the moment?
Sure, we can start. Yeah, sure. We'll start over here. So here's another tank of Herolibirfifer severums. And then I got some wild caught pikes in here, red Atabapo pikes. So we'll throw some food in here too while we walk around. And then down here while they're eating, we have our wild caught group of Cretochromis travasi out of Lake Tanganyika.
Cool.
And then see if I can get them out. Let me go grab a thing of frozen food real quick. I got some wild. See if I can get some eels out. I got some.
How big did you say your basement was?
It's 1,100 square foot.
Good size.
Yeah. So, and all our food here is kept in pet containers, so it's all sealed and fresh. Let's see if I can get a couple of eels out. So in here we have some, there's one right there. We have some Tanganyikan eels.
Cool.
Usually food will get them out. So these guys we mainly feed frozen foods too. We'll keep walking, then we'll come back and check on them, see if I can get them out for the food. Down here we have some Rampsochromis, the Malawi barracuda. So we have males and females down here. This is a breeding group. She's got them out. She's holding there, little female. Those are active breeders for us. Here we're going to redo this rack. This used to be our shrimp rack, but we got out of doing shrimp and plants for the most part.
Yeah. Why was that?
Just there's too many people doing it, and it became too time consuming for what I wanted. So I'm going to change this rack over to be 15 gallon tanks so I can do more community fish.
Cool.
And over here we have just some more smaller Petrochromis fry from our group that we have in the back. And just a mix of 15s and then some 20 highs on here. Down here we have some Buccochromis notitania males and females. Let's see, did they come out yet?
They look quite darty.
Oh yeah, no, there they are. Where's the? You can see the eels out a little bit. There's the other one tucked and set up.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're going for that shrimp, Mason shrimp. Yeah, they're neat, that's for sure.
That's stupidly cool. Do they have a tendency to wiggle out, or are they okay?
I had one jump out, so I
Yeah.
tried to. I don't know how, but I tried. You know, there's 4 left, so right now there's 4 in there, so I'm good. So then over here we have just some different fish in the 75. This is where the parents are at. This is our Negriguensis, Central American cichlid. There's the parents in the back corner. So this is their first batch of fry that survived so far in there. They had another batch, but I think this batch ate that other batch. So I need to get these guys out of the tank there. And then here's another pair. I forget these guys' name. I hope it's a pair, but he's pretty rough on the female in there.
Yeah.
He's like a big convict cichlid, but our stock is kind of low right now. So we got the pair of Severums in there. Down here we have some male African cichlids, Otter Point Jakes, some Flavescents, some Ningaras, just different variety of males.
Cool.
That are available.
So those are sale stock right there.
Yes. Yep.
Man, that is really cool seeing good size males available in a store, not sort of small half juvie type size stuff.
No, I generally don't half juvie size stuff because if you want a male, I want to make sure if I sell it, it's a male. So everything I bring in is usually nice size, 4-inch plus.
How do you go about if people are asking female peacocks? Are are your suppliers pretty trustworthy that you'll get the females of what people have ordered? Because obviously they're all very similar when it comes to peacocks.
Yeah, I mean, I went on their farm, so they have them all separated. So this bat is the Lawandas, and this bat might be the Flavescents. So if I need females, I can just tell them, add 10 females or 5 females to my order, and for Lawandas or Nagaros, and they'll send them up. So they have a really good process on the farm to keep everything separate and ensure there's no inbreeding or anything.
While you're talking, I'm just trying to push a few buttons and see if I can make your screen way bigger than my screen because it's way cooler than what I'm looking like. Let's see if I can work it out. No, don't do that.
Then over here we have some Exochromis anagenes, or the 3-spot torpedo. We have a big old Synodontis eurupris, or Synodontis angelicus, sorry, not eurupris. And then here's some Synodontis multipentatus that are wholesaler spawning.
Cool.
We bring in. And then our lovely Paradovi that I was talking about earlier, and some fry that survived in there with them. She will attack me if I put my hand in there. She does not like it.
I know. Turns out I'm pretty not computer technical, and I can't work out how to make your screen. Wait a minute.
There you
go. Woo! Look at that.
Yeah,
it's way cooler.
So yeah, there's the Paradovi. Back here we have a Shouting Denai puffer. So we do carry some different stuff.
Yeah.
And then some Vieja Heterospilas, or the Monte Cristo cichlid, for some different Central American. And this is some fry from my Rampsochromis Macrothomus group over there, and then some Negriguensis fry that I pulled out of the tank from the parents.
Some what fry, sorry?
So the Negriguensis, the Central American, the pair I have over there.
They're getting incredibly hard to find in New Zealand.
And then here's just the tank of divided males. So when my orders get lower, and if I have a tank of 20 males, and as I start selling them, obviously with cichlids, the less fish, the more aggressive they get. So I'll start pulling them and put them in divided tanks, so that dividers, that way I can reset the tank up for a new order, and then I don't have to worry about these guys, beating each other up in the meantime.
Yeah.
There's a nice albino eureka.
Wow.
Then we got Pinachylis, Star Sapphire, small male. These guys are Vieja fenestratus, the marble Vieja, spawned by a club member of mine, Bruce Croft. Very pretty male. There's some are starting to morph a little bit. So different Central American as well.
I don't think we get that here either.
And then we got some Congo tetras, some Harligan rasboris for some community fish offerings here. Nice big old green phantom pleco there that's going to take off. These are a couple of Thricky's red ariums that are left in this tank from our last order. I got a couple gold severums down here.
How often are you getting new fish in and out? Or how often are you ordering?
Usually every couple of months.
Yeah. Do you have specific areas for quarantining, or do you just write the date on the tank and?
No, I just write the date on the tank that I know new fish came in.
Yeah.
Here's some Melagenes, Tanganyikan sand sifter.
That's cool.
They're building some bowers here.
Yeah. So all these sort of fish you would expect to normally see in a local fish shop.
Oh,
in your area, or are these really, really specialist hobbyist type stuff?
I mean, most of them, like your males and stuff, they'll have. These guys for sure are hobbyist fish. These would not be in a fish store. Discus obviously are in shops. Some of these smaller Tanganyikans, like these are gold sex fasciatus and Neolamper locust tetracephalus.
Yeah.
So some of these, the shop might not purchase them if they don't have the clientele for them. Same thing with the Petrochromis travase. Shop's not going to buy, a wild group.
They're very cool. I quite like their fin shapes.
Yeah, they're often called the threadfin cichlid. Is there another name for them?
Can see why, yeah. They're very cool.
Or pikes. I mean, you don't see a lot of pikes like that in the shop. Big old rhino pleco. Great for great cichlid eaters, for algae eaters, for big cichlid tanks.
Cool. You've definitely got a decent variety of different fish, but what's getting me is the size of what they are. Like down here, fish come in quite small, and you kind of grow them out yourself. But like a lot of your fish are of size already. If you want to put them in a display tank, you're not having to wait 18 months to get them there.
No, for sure. And then down here we have some gar males, Lynchochromis acutocet males, and some Aristochromis christii males, and a couple Eureka reds.
Cool. Do you notice once the fish have settled in, when you're feeding them your line of food, that the colors come through stronger?
I notice it enhances them for sure. It brings it back and does, and then improves on it for sure. These guys are fed extreme, so they're fed a good food as well.
Yeah.
I don't generally get into food debates. Everybody has their own preference of foods that they feed. So
For sure.
obviously we'd like you to feed ours, but if you're not, we hope we can make you a customer. We try to price our food affordable for the hobbyist. So a lot of our stuff is like $11 a pound for the pellets. If it's just our normal pellets, are $15 a pound for our color food. Our flake food varies depending on what variety it is, but we try to stay, help the hobbyist out. We do a lot with the clubs too. So a lot of local clubs, we give their members 10% discounts. We also give a veteran discount if you're a vet. So we try to help out because we know this hobby is expensive for sure. I mean, with everything I have down here, I know what it costs to
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
hobby. So
I'm looking around and I've got a fair idea of what that's cost you as well.
yeah.
Do you carry any other products other than the food range that you sell, or do you have other things that you have on the website, or is it just the fish and your food range?
Right now it's the fish and the food. We are looking. I have something small, but I got a bunch of sea chem nets I'm going to sell. So we're going to expand a little bit. So I got a bunch of fish nets I need to add to my website. I know people have asked, like, why don't we sell heaters, stuff like that. Aquariums, since it's my house, I can't really sell aquariums. I don't have where really to store them. So,
yeah, glass boxes take up a lot of room.
That they do.
Cool. What's your favorite fish you've got currently in your fish room right now?
That'd be a toss-up. I would probably say the eels by far are cool.
They are cool.
I am really liking this pair of red severums here. Hopefully, if I can get them to do something, that'll be even cooler. Also, the Labyrinthifer pair, those guys are one of my favorites as well. I had them segregated. They both have bred, but I wasn't able to raise the fry in the tank. So I need to try and divide the tank again. But these guys are also really fun, especially you don't think of a Central American being a mouth brooder like an African cichlid, but when you catch the female and she's spitting out a mouth of fry, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's really cool. You've definitely got me captivated right now looking at fish, which is cool. Particularly the species which has been pretty much everything you've shown that we can't get here. It's always cool seeing what other people are allowed to have and we can't have.
Is there a reason you can't have them, or they're just not able? They're just not readily available.
We've got an allowed list and a not allowed list. If it's not on the allowed list, then good luck.
Oh wow! Yeah, they tried that. They were trying that here in Michigan. I'm like, there's no way you can do that. You'll kill the hobby. You'll kill the industry if you try to do that.
Yeah. The powers that be don't really so much care about the hobby. It's more about the environmental factors and stuff like that, which absolutely makes sense. And you know, we're okay with that. But whoa, that's a different one as well.
Yeah, but for here, so I would go into Canada years ago and get some trophies. There was a trophies breeder in Kitchener, Daryl Warren at the time. We'd bring back 30. We'd come back across the border, and the people on the U.S. side would say, "Oh, you're going to have them for resale." No, they're for my personal tank. Well, why do you need 30 of them? Well, if you understand the fish, you know how aggressive they are. And two, they're not going to live in the lake. If any of these fish that I have get into the lakes here, they're not going to live.
Yeah.
I mean, so...
Yeah, that's like what we have. So, for an example, Autolampologus compressus were allowed in here, but the Calvus were not. Go figure.
They're why?
Yeah.
They're both the same fish, pretty much.
Pretty much. Yep. One's on the list, one's not on the list, and things like name changes, like how the Corydoridines will change names.
Yes.
A little bit concerned that might stop or halt them being allowed to board in because they're a different name, which means they're a different fish. So we'll see how things happen. At this stage, nothing's changed, I don't think, but yeah, definitely a concern.
What's the process to add to that, or is it almost impossible to try and...
a lot of money and then a lot of hope. So the problem is there's only 4, maybe 5 importers here in New Zealand. And so if someone is to put... we'll use round numbers, $50,000 to get the fish put onto the list, then everybody else can also import that fish, and it would be basically a waste of investment for that to happen.
Okay.
Going to find it pretty hard to get back $50,000 of fish in a very short period of time.
Right. Yeah. Because then you just open the door for everybody else.
Yeah. But not only that, like the market here is very, very small. I conservatively estimate that there is more fish keepers in America than what there is population of people in New Zealand. And that's just a conservative guess from talking to people in America and how many people keep fish. That's roughly my estimate.
Oh wow,
So,
it's interesting. Yeah.
So very small market here. So you're never going to get the money back that way, unfortunately. But that's sort of how it is for a lot of stuff here because we're a small country. It is
Right.
how it works. Yeah. Cool. All right. How has the aquarium industry changed since you started your business?
Well, when I started, everything was pretty much a lot of African cichlids, a lot of big tanks. I've seen a big shift now in the U.S. Everything's going. A lot of people want nano fish, nano tanks. So the shift to carry the big African cichlids is changing. I felt a couple of years ago the Tanganyika market kind of fell. We see right now the market for the Tanganyikans is coming back a little bit more. People are wanting them more, which is good. So everything is very cyclical.
Yeah, I agree. Everything goes up and down, and almost depends on if there's someone on social media showing off a whole bunch of these sort of fish for a while, they become popular.
Yeah. Well, you got the YouTubers too, right? They'll bring in this fish and they'll keep this fish. Now everybody wants this fish because so and so has it. So that can influence.
even general hobbyists, like if there's a hobbyist that continuously posts pictures or videos of XYZ, people go, "Oh, that's a pretty cool fish," and then all of a sudden, a few more people get into it and stuff like that. And I don't think it's a bad thing. If as a hobby we could expand that out to more people, I think that'd be a better thing.
Right.
But it's cool that other people have their eyes open for different varieties and go, "Oh yeah, I might look into that fish as well."
Oh, I for sure wish years ago I would have kept more varieties than just African cichlids. Now, like the knowledge I could have learned back then about these other fish versus what I'm trying to learn now, and
Why do you think the push towards the nano aquariums has been a thing?
just space, depending on where you live or what space you have to put an aquarium, right? You can obviously put 10-gallon tank or 5-gallon tank in a much smaller area. And you can put some nice, cool ember tetras in there or shrimp. A lot of people like to, keep shrimp in their smaller tanks and plant them.
Have you noticed any unique challenges running your business in essentially a hobby industry?
Not really. I know I have one challenge. Obviously, I do it out of my house, so to have normal customers come in, that creates a big challenge. And I work a day job too, because I don't get rich off the fish. So I have to work for a day job. And so somebody will call me 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Hey, I want to come check out fish. Sorry, I'm not available till 6 or 7 in the evening. So some of that I see is a downfall, but I can't go out and get space and afford another mortgage on another property and hope that covers the bills, and then I got to have employees run it. So that's not cost effective for me at this point. Maybe later down the road, but not right now.
Yeah. How do you balance personal life, work life, as well as an aquarium business at the same time?
It's very hard, especially right now when my work life is taking over everything because we're doing some major projects, major transformation at the automotive company I'm at. So that's actually cut into my fish time. So I need to get some of my fish time back.
Would you like to share any advice if someone is looking at getting involved in starting up their own aquarium-based business, whether it be online or physical store? Is there some key things that you think have helped you and not helped you?
Well, one would be obviously, you got to determine, first of all, what are you going to offer, right? So is it going to be a niche item? Is it going to be a common item? And what's your goal? What are you trying to get out of the business? Obviously, you want to run a business to make money. If I make money every year, great. I do this. I have fun with it, and I have fun just like when I was at the event last weekend. I have fun meeting other hobbyists, working with other vendors. working with different communities, different fish store clubs, stuff like that. So I like the people aspect of it. So what are you getting in the business for, right? That's one thing. Second, make sure you truly become a legit business. We have an LLC behind us, so you can protect yourself over here in case something. You sell a fish to somebody and they get sick and it wipes out $3,000 of their fish. Obviously, you don't want them to sue or come after your personal assets, so you got to make sure you're set yourself up in a limited liability corp so you can protect your assets. Do your research, talk to other people that run businesses. I know a couple of guys before they've started their businesses, they've reached out to me. How do you do it? What do I think? So do your research and check around, talk to other people.
Is that a thing that, like, if you were to sell someone a fish and it was to wipe out their tank, that you would be liable?
Not in theory, but if I say I start selling to stores, or the food I sell to stores, I have some stores that buy my food for their store use. So if that wiped out their tank and wiped out their stock, they would come obviously and, what did we change? We started feeding your food and now we lost 10 tanks of fish. So just from a protection standpoint around here.
That's really interesting. I've never thought that would be a thing, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. It's something to think of when you're doing a business.
Yeah.
Hobbyist, not really, but business, yeah.
Yeah. We don't have a sort of suing culture here per se. For me to have sold someone a fish and then them have issues and knock out their tank, the idea of potentially being sued for that never makes sense, never even crossed my mind, or, selling them some food that has caused issues. Again, it's never. Yeah, well, that's really interesting. That's made me think a little bit.
Yeah, just something I have to keep in mind over here,
Yeah. Wow. How do you market your products to make them stand out in a very competitive industry?
Well, our packaging. Here, let me see. Flip this again. So all our packaging, we have all the, we did all the white labeling, all the new logos when we did the change to the Cunningham Tropicals. And then our store packaging, it's a clear jar with a nice white dome cap and the nice white label. So we try to make our food stick out based on what we like to say, the cleanliness of the label and the way it looks. Because I'll be eventually switching all of the pellets and sticks, the 8-ounce and 1-pound containers will also we're going away from the bags and going to all jar containers. So that way I can limit the amount of work it takes to pack and print labels, because if I need to pack this size bag, this is a different label I got to go print upstairs. This is a different label. These are different labels. So to try and condense, one, the cost of packaging, and two, the amount of work it takes just to package all the foods. We're going to be switching over to jars for everything. So
you do all the labels. You do basically everything, get it in bulk, and then you from there make it do its thing.
Yep. When it gets here, all the work begins.
Wow, that seems like it's quite a time-consuming process.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna push some buttons again.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Can you share a memorable story from your time as a fish keeper?
Memorable story. I would have to say probably one of the funnest times so far was a couple fun times. One, I got invited in 2019 to talk to a fish club down in Monterrey, Mexico. So I don't speak Spanish. They wanted my breeding African cichlid talk that I give. So that was a very different talk to give, to speak a couple sentences. Then I have to wait. Somebody translates, speak again. Somebody translates. So that was a very hard talk to get in the rhythm of. But
Would be.
the highlight of that trip is Dave Schumacher was down there with us, and we went into Cuatro Ciénegas, and we were able to spend time snorkeling with the Herichtes minklii that's found down there. So we spent a whole day snorkeling, catching cichlids, looking at them. So, and to spend time with Dave, that was a really fun time. Another fun trip, May of 23, because I do talks for aquarium clubs as well. I have 5 different presentations that I offer right now. So I was invited to speak for the San Francisco club and also the Sacramento club.
Cool.
So when I went to go talk for Sacramento, Pam Chin, another great idol fishkeeper mentor of mine that I like to, she's really big into trophies, and she loves her castle decor and her tanks and her unique setup. I've always wanted to see her fish house, so when we went out there in May, we were able to connect with her and see her fish house and find out her husband races pigeons, which I didn't even know racing pigeons was a thing. So he has a big barn of pigeons, and they put the pigeons in a truck. They drive them so far away, they drop them off. And then he's got monitors on them. He can tell where they're at, how fast, how high they flew, how fast they flew. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, we spoke to Pam maybe 6 or so months ago.
Okay.
Yep. Incredibly fascinating and just such an incredibly knowledgeable fish keeper.
Yes. Yes, yeah. I'm very jealous. Every year she gets to go dive in Tanganyika, Lake Tanganyika. So I'm gonna have to. That's on my bucket list. One year to go dive with Larry Johnson, who's a big mentor when it comes to Malawi cichlids, and then I'd like to go spend time in Tanganyika with Pam one year.
Yeah, cool. How did you get into giving presentations?
One club just asked one time, "Hey, can you give a talk on breeding cichlids?" And I was like, "I really don't want to." Or no, sorry, my first talk was on my fish room for Neofish, a Northeast Ohio Fish Club. So at the time, people wanted to talk on I had 140 tanks down here, so how my fish room was set up, what fish I bred. So that was the first talk I built. And then I just started building different ones. One I built on traveling. So for a couple of years, I'd go to different swaps, different shows. So what it takes to take your fish with you, to take your food with you. So I have acrylic tanks that I store, and I have racking systems that I load up in the U-Haul and I take with me to the shows where I bring livestock. So that way the fish can be displayed in the aquarium for purchase instead of in a bag. So I built the talk on that. I built the talk on breeding cichlids because I bred over 300 different types of African cichlids so far. So from Lake Malawi, Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika. I didn't think I would like to do presentations to get up in front of people and talk, but since it's about fish, I can sit there and I can rattle all day about it.
Yep. Yeah.
So
it's easy talking about something you're interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy the traveling's fun. The meeting the different fish keepers is fun. You know, being able to share stories or experiences, network. That's always great.
According to the chat, there's quite a few people that are either pigeon racers or know people that race pigeons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, one of my customers is a pigeon racer, and someone said that their dad used to race pigeons. Rebecca, who frequents the chat regularly, says it's pretty big over in the UK. Scuba Steve says that his neighbor raced pigeons, so apparently it's quite a thing.
Oh, okay. I would
not have known that. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Fish keeping, bringing pigeon races together.
Right? I know there is an evolution when you keep fish, and then when you're done, it seems like you go to bird watching or bird photography over here.
Really?
Yes. I know a couple handfuls of fish keepers that have now went from keeping fish to now taking photos and bird watching.
Interesting. Is that because it's so hard to take photos of fish that they've gone, bugger this, I'm going to find something a little bit easier?
I don't know, to be honest, what the trend is or the reasoning, but
yeah. Is there any species of fish that you found particularly challenging to keep?
I mean, I have a couple that I've never bred. I tried to keep Neolamprologus nigriventris. That was one fish that I was never able to spawn after a couple of years. I don't bring in anything that requires softer water to breed because I have very hard water here. So I don't mess around with trying to lower the pH or the hardness or anything. So some of the geos and some of the softer water fish are harder for me to keep, depending on where they come from.
What sort of things do you try in attempting to spawn fish? Obviously, different species will have different triggers, but do you have a few things that you attempt or don't attempt to try and get things to go?
Yeah, so one thing, you got to make sure they're fed, and the females are. I like to plump up the females if I'm trying to get them ready to breed. And the other thing is like areas. So when I was breeding Mylachromis erectanius, it's a Malawi Hapnochromis. I had them in this 180 back here, and I had bought a breeding trio. And then I got males and females from Dave Schumacher to supplement the group, so I had different bloodlines in the group. Well, come to find out, when I set the tank up, I had a lot of these gray rocks and stuff all over the gravel bed, right? And I couldn't figure out why these guys wouldn't breed. So one day I was doing tank maintenance. So let me just redecorate the tank. So I started pulling out some rocks, and I had that big rock that's back there in the Severum tank. Well, here, this one here, the same kind of rock, just a gray one. So I had this rock in this 180 over here. And once I moved rocks and got them away, within 2 days I had 7 females holding, because then he felt comfortable and he had room over here to spawn. So if your fish aren't breeding, rearrange your tank. Is one thing to do to try and trigger them. Feed them some more, depending on if they're carnivores, feed them heavier protein foods like krill food. Like if I feed freeze-dried krill, I can usually trigger my gars to spawn after about a week of feeding them that quite a bit, because then it really fattens them up and gets them in the mood to spawn.
Cool. What's the most rewarding part of fish keeping for you personally?
Just hearing customers that come back and give me feedback. Oh, I got this fish from you 2 years ago. He's great. Some fish I've sold people, some males that I've sold some customers. They've entered them into shows, and have reported back to me like, oh, my fish won best of show or reserve best of show for this peacock or that peacock. Just to see people have success with our products, food products, or keeping our fish.
Cool. So what's next for you in Cunningham Tropicals? What's your next sort of step or your next stage that you're planning out?
Just to continue to expand the foods. Like I said, we're gonna look at getting into freeze-dried fruits next, and work to produce. Work with our wholesaler to produce our own formula. We are getting into discus, which we kind of stayed away from, but we got these red pigeon bloods in so far that I showed, and then which are over here, and then we have more discus that we're going to bring in. So we're going to set up a couple 100-gallon tanks probably with some nice discus that we're going to have for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Just try and branch out into some other fish to get some more community fish and some different things that we can offer.
Mm-hmm. Is there any plans on any other product development other than food, or are you just happy to stick with that?
We're going to stick with that for right now.
Yeah. Is that a matin filter there?
Yes, it is. From Swiss Tropicals over here.
Cool. How do you find they perform?
Oh, I love them. I have them in all my tanks here, and then I have them in these 40 gallons over here.
Cool. Is that the only filtration you've got running in those tanks?
I also have a box filter in the corner.
Well. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. How do you see your business evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Obviously, hopefully growing as we expand into more different types of fish. Hopefully, we'll continue to grow our business, market our business. We are going to look at different shows and different opportunities, different areas we need to try and market to. So,
cool. Are you looking at pushing into a full-fledged retail side of things, or sticking with online, or is there any development plans there?
ideally, I would love to have some property. So, if I had 5 acres, I would love to obviously have a building out back, and then the building out back would be a fish house with like 500 tanks.
Yeah.
Like Imperial Tropicals has in his warehouse, so he can change. This set of tanks can be salt water, black water, whatever he needs to based on what fish he's bringing in. So ideally, that would be. I don't know if I would want retail. I go back and forth. So I mean,
Yeah.
I would obviously like to have a different building that way, because then I could run hours on it. Okay, the fish room's open for this time to this time. It's a separate drive. People don't have to come through the house to look at the fish, but it'll be, with the economy over here, it'll be a couple of years before we can even look at getting to that point.
Yeah. What drives your passion to continue running your business?
Just all the different fish, the stories, networking with all the different hobbyists, all the different people that I've met, that I like to call, a lot of them are become close friends, family by now. A lot of these guys I've known 10, 12 years.
Yeah. How important do you find community engagement for the aquarium hobby?
Oh, it's very important. You got to have community engagement. Without the communities, and we don't survive as a business.
How do you, as a business, engage with your community?
Sorry. Well, one thing we do is we got a local fish club, and then a group of us started down here. We call it Southeastern Michigan Aquarium Society. So we meet once a month, second Friday of the month, at a church here in Allen Park. So we bring in different speakers. We do different activities, like fishy bingo. We play bingo one night for fish prizes. Cool. This month coming up is our Christmas party, so we'll do a potluck for our members. We also do fishy trivia, so we'll build a trivia fish game to do, and we'll divide into 2 groups, and the winners get extra raffle tickets. Just try to educate on different topics and everything with the community. I'd like to see if I can start a program as well with like the local schools. Maybe get an aquarium in a classroom here in a couple of local schools to encourage fish keeping.
Cool. As they say, the children is the future, and I've always thought the McDonald's have done really well for intergenerational use of their product by giving away toys with their Happy Meals and stuff like that. It keeps people remembering coming back, and I've always sort of wondered how you can do that as a fish keeper or someone in the fish industry to make sure the future is looking bright for new people coming into the industry or into the hobby. And I think getting them into schools is probably one way of doing it, short of having really deep pockets and really long hands and having a cartoon available. Getting them into schools and just visually in the eyes of young kids is probably the way of doing it.
Well, we're noticing that with a lot of the fish clubs, right? So we got to get these younger kids and younger groups engaged in these fish clubs, or eventually, they're going to peter out, because the people running them are getting older and older as the years progress, and there's nobody coming behind them to look at taking over.
Yeah, and then eventually they sort of begin feeling like an old boys club, and then when that happens, even less people want to be involved in them.
Yep. Do you guys have a lot of fish clubs over there in New Zealand at all?
No, it's for the best part, it's a dying part here, unfortunately. Um, there's one new one that started about a year ago, 18 months ago, in the biggest city in Auckland. It's been run by an American guy that's moved over here, so it's got a very American feel to the fish club. So it's a really nice breath of fresh air. But for the best part, I think it's a dying thing here, and no one's really changed their methodology when it comes to running fish clubs.
And it's a shame because human interaction face to face is way more important than me sitting looking something up on my computer.
I agree. And like with fish keeping, like I've said for a long time, everyone can know you're a fish keeper, or no one can know, because it can be a very individual soul hobby. Like you can have a garage full of fish tanks, and the only people that know you've got them is the people you live with and the fish shop that you buy your fish from.
Yep.
If you want to keep it that way, like, or everyone can know about it. Depends on who you are. So, I agree. Interaction and conversation in person always works really well, but it doesn't seem to be going that way, unfortunately.
No, that's the same over here we're seeing. So
yeah,
it's a shame.
Yeah. Do you think it's just the way that humans are evolving in general, or do you think it's an industry issue?
Personally, people are probably gonna get. I think it's a COVID issue. I think with COVID, we created the issue. Everybody had to isolate. Everybody for the longest time couldn't interact with each other. So people got used to that type of interaction, and it's hard for some people to break out of that. Personally, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a relatively fair argument, or at least conversation piece. People got used to it, haven't broken away from it. Yep. Something else sort of took on. Still feel like getting human interaction by communicating via phone, via screens, like we are now as well, but not in person. Yeah, that would make sense as a way. I'm sure 20, 30 years time, someone will do a study on it and we'll work out what it was.
Right. Yep.
Do you collaborate with other hobbyists and other businesses in your industry?
I do, yes. If they want to, I will. I have no problem with that. I mean, like I said, I'll send customers to other businesses, and if I struggle with the fish for some reason, I might message Dave, hey, have you kept these fish before? What was your experience? Or, share stuff like that with each other.
What other ways do you do that? Or collaborate with other hobbyists?
Well, at the shows, we'll collaborate. Obviously, I'm there in person for people to come up and talk. If anybody has the questions, I'm on Facebook when my profile is active and not played around with.
What happened there?
I got hacked a couple of years ago around Christmas time, and somebody took my business page and my personal page. And I've never been able to get that back because with Facebook, there really is no way to get help from anybody. So I started a second profile, just a professional profile, just for my business, because my business needs to be on Facebook. I mean, it has to have a presence, right? So, and then recently I shared some posts about some stores that are carrying my food, trying to promote, hey, go check out these shops, support these shops. They support local, small, veteran-owned businesses. And then somebody decided they'd report my post that it went against community standards, and it locked me out again. And then it took me a couple of weeks to appeal and get back in. And so there is, I'm going to be honest, there is some pettiness in the fish industry. Not everybody believes there's enough business for everybody. There you have some shop owners and some people believe that people like me shouldn't have a business because I don't have a storefront or anything. So I shouldn't be in business to sell fish or aquarium related items. And so I don't know, some people like that get petty, in my opinion, that want to play around or potentially report profiles or try and cause harm to other people's businesses. Not saying anybody did, but the hobby's big enough for everybody. We don't need to have businesses against each other. If anything, our businesses need to work together more in this industry if they're not. I mean, there's a store in Cleveland, buddy of mine, George, runs it, and we'll work together on certain items because there's no reason why we can't. I don't hurt his market, he doesn't hurt my market. So why can't we work together?
Talking about social media just before, what platforms are you on? But what platforms do you feel that fish stores or retailers should or shouldn't be on?
Well, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Band. I do have Twitter. I'm not too active on Twitter. And then I do have a little TikTok that I started just to put little videos up. For sure, businesses need to be on Facebook and Instagram, I feel. Those are the two main platforms. I know when Facebook did their big crackdown that you can't sell livestock on Band or on Facebook, and a lot of people went to Band. Band to me is a little bit harder social media to use.
Yeah.
One thing I wish there was a platform, or maybe somebody knows there is, where you could write one post and you could just share it across everything. I know you can link Facebook to Instagram, but that doesn't link to Band, and that doesn't link to this. And
Yeah.
you can link, I think, Instagram and TikTok together and different things, but there's not one that connects all the avenues. So
Yeah.
social media to me is very daunting to sit there and post all day long and this and that. It's a lot of work to run a business, to work a full-time job, to try and manage social media.
Yeah, it is unfortunate there's not one connecting platform that puts it all on one. There's some that do lots and some that do others, but I'm the same. I'm yet to find one that does every single or the vast majority of the ones that everyone are on. It's a real pain.
But yeah, look us up on Cunningham Tropicals. We have YouTube channel too. I got to get more active with my YouTube videos.
Does sustainable fish keeping play a role in your business practices?
Oh, for sure. We got to be able to sustain the fish to keep the hobby around, to keep the industry around. So I'm very big on, like, even the fish that I carry. I won't carry the red tail catfish or arowanas and stuff like that. I won't stock those.
You've gone. What's going on here? I've lost your audio. No, you mute. No, we have lost your audio. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Can you hear me? You can obviously hear me because I said we've lost your audio. We can see you. What's going on? Can you hear me? Yeah, we might be having a few technical issues here. You can't hear me. I can't hear. We can't hear each other. We can lip sync. Yeah, cool. I think that was. He's going to drop off and he's going to come back. I think that's what that was. Okay. Well, I hope we're enjoying this so far. It's been a little while since we've had one of these go on. I can hear Cam. Yeah, it's been a little while since we've had one of these happen, so we'll see how we go. We'll see if Josh comes back, and we'll see if we have some noise that goes with it. Hope you're all enjoying it. If you weren't here at the start, just reminding you this will be the last Fanatics Friday coffee date we do this year. 100% last one we do with a guest, possibly, potentially the last one we do in general for the year. Normally we sort of cut them off with the guests, at least at this time of the year. Josh is back. Let's see how we go.
All right, I hear you now.
Sweet, we're good to go again.
Yeah, somebody called my business line and it must have took the audio or something away.
Yep, that'll do that. Cool. So we're talking about sustainability.
Yes, so for sure, we got to sustain. Again, we go back to the topic, right? We got to get younger people in the hobby. So again, the younger people obviously are the future to the fish keeping, and to sustain it, we got to make sure we can sell fish that people can keep and they're successful with. Again, that's why, like I said, I won't sell the red-tailed catfish. I don't carry arowanas. Anything that's going to get 2 foot, 3 foot, you won't find it from me, because eventually somebody's going to keep it. They're going to, oh, I'm going to put it in my 40-gallon tank, and then you realize how big that fish is going to get and what you're going to need to have for it later. So,
What about sustainability in the sense of like endangered fish and all that kind of stuff, and environmental reasons?
as far as endangered fish, I mean, we have the CARES list over here.
Mm-hmm.
So fish that are endangered in the wild, we need to make sure that if somebody is breeding them, they're responsible and they have them available, they can circulate them. I know there's a club up in the New England Cichlid Association, Peter George and his group, with the help of Craig Storm, they've created a database now that they're going to start logging what hobbyists have what fish, and that way that information can be shared. And if a hobbyist is looking for a certain fish they want to breed or they want to work with, there's at least a database to go try and find out who has that fish.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on wild caught fish?
I'm okay with wild caught fish if the population allows it, because we have to make sure that we leave a population left so the fish can still survive in the wild. Like for years, the Chidungo Solosi or Pseudotrophy Solosi, those were way overfished in Taiwan and Reef and were almost extinct. So we bred them for several years here just to have them around. And then it was great to see probably 5-6 years ago, Larry Johnson and his group that was with them that year on the safari, they went down and actually released young that are being bred lakeside back into the reef. And then now he can report that the population is regrowing.
Cool.
So we have to be responsible, right? You can underfish and overfish a group. So you got to find the fine line, and how much we're going to take out of the lakes and out of the wild, the rivers and the Amazon and stuff like that.
For sure.
I mean, I have wild fish here. My pikes are wild. My Harold Severums are wild. My Travasi are wild. My eels are. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but we got to know when enough is enough for that fish.
Yeah, it's got to be done the right way.
Yep.
100% on board with that. Do you support any conservation efforts or programs?
I support the CARES program here. I am looking at what I can do to get involved with Project Piaba, and the work that Project Piaba does through a club member here in Grand Rapids. He's very active in that group. So we're going to start looking at what we can do to, we do a lot to support local fish clubs, support events. So now what can be done, where we can help to support more conservation efforts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you could design your dream aquarium, what would it be?
My dream aquarium probably would be a 10-foot aquarium. It would have a group of Mepibui frontosas and a group of what we call today Benthochromis horii, or what used to be back in the day Benthochromis tricati.
What are they like? I don't think I've heard that before. Another fish we don't get here.
No, it's I'd explain it. You'd have to look them up. They're big Cyprichromis. They got some nice feathers on the back, nice purpling in them.
Very good.
But you need a big aquarium for them. The other thing I'd like to have would be a pair of the Emperor cichlids. I would love to. I've seen them at 5 inches, and I'm like, no. Again, we're importing a fish at 5 inches that's going to get 2 foot, and we're selling it to somebody that probably doesn't understand that fish is going to get 2 foot. So
being told it's going to get 2 foot and then seeing it or experiencing is two different things.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You're obviously quite knowledgeable when it comes to African cichlids. Have you ever considered writing a book on your time with Africans or breeding Africans or anything like that?
I have not. I've dabbled with a couple. Like I wrote a magazine article in Cichlid News on breeding the Lenchochromis acuticeps. I can talk, but to sit down and write it, it's hard to get get my talk into words as far as
Yeah.
like proper words, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'll leave the writing to Ed Konings. He does a great job with the cichlid books. So
Doesn't he just? Yeah, it's definitely something. Getting the information out of your brain onto paper or onto a screen typed out. It's a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
What's one thing about fish keeping hobby you would wish more people would understand?
I guess I would say the amount of work that it takes for us to run the business. When you have, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. Just if the hobbyists need to understand that, we have a personal life, we have day jobs as well. So, sometimes I want 10 pictures of this, 10 pictures of that, and then you don't come to me, you don't buy the fish, right? So we spend all this time taking pictures, sending you pictures, and then, for you not to purchase the fish. Just people need to be more respectful of the business owner's time, I guess I could say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be negative to anybody, but just keep that in mind when you're messaging a business owner, or, if they don't get back to you for 5-6 hours, they're busy, not ignoring you, but they're busy with other things. I'm busy with my day job from 8 to 5, or a lot of times till 10 o'clock at night. So if I'm not very responsive, it's not on purpose. It's just, I have a day job that pays my bills that I got to be responsible for.
Yeah. If you weren't, I'm going to use a term that I absolutely hate, running Cunningham Tropicals as a side hustle, what do you think you'd be doing?
I don't know. I'd probably be in trouble somewhere. Because when I got divorced, this gave me something to do. So every night I was down here in my fish room doing water changes, tinkering with the fish for several years. So my parents, they knew where I was at. I wasn't at the bars getting in trouble. I was in the fish room if you wanted to find me for several years. So it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me something to throw myself back into, to obsess about, or to enjoy, and keep me going down the right track in life, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Cool. We're coming to the end of our questions. So do you have a message for our audience watching this live stream that you'd like to get across?
Just one thing I would say is, if you're looking at getting into fish, depending on what you want to keep, make sure you do your research. Everybody, if you want to breed a fish, okay, what size tank does it need? What are the water requirements? What can the tank mates be? Because when you're looking at, for example, I use this fish in my talk, Aristochromis christii is a Malawi hawk. That's a very predatory African cichlid, right? So if you want to work with that fish, you want to put something else in there, or you want to just have that fish in your tank. Keep in mind what it could eat, because they can distalk their jaws, and I have seen it where I had 3-inch Aristochromis christii I was growing out for my breeders. I thought I was safe putting 2.5-inch Phrostochromis rostratus in there. Nope, those christii tried to have those rostratus for meals.
Wow.
It's like, what? They're about your size. But I mean, do your research. That's important. Enjoy the hobby. You're gonna make missteps, right? We all do. You're gonna kill off a tank of fish. I've done it. I've had heaters stick on me twice and killed 2 tanks of fish. Don't give up. So things are gonna happen. Learn from it. Build on it, and keep going with it. I mean, this hobby's supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy it. If there's a local fish club that's around you, join it. Go check it out. A lot of clubs like our club, will let you come for a couple meetings. Come check it out. See if you like it. Interact with the other fish keepers. If you have local clubs, support them if you can. I mean, they always need the support. And support your stores. If you have stores around you, support your stores as well. Because we need the industry to continue to grow, not go the other way.
For sure. Cool. So that has brought us to the end of our structured questions. We like to end our live streams what we call a quick school of six. This is 6 short answer questions. They're not meant to put you on the spot, but every now and then they do.
Okay.
The first question for you is heads or tails?
Tails.
Are you a tea or a coffee drinker?
Neither.
Neither. Okay.
Used to drink coffee back in the day.
Are we alone in the universe?
No, we're not.
If you could have a meal with someone alive or dead from any point in time, fiction or real, who would it be?
I'd like to have a meal again with my mother. She passed away when I was 12 years old. So I would like to go back and, if I could ever redo something or go back to see her again, I would like to do that.
Cool. Paper, scissors, rocks. What's your first call?
Usually rock.
What's your unicorn fish, one that you'd like to keep, spawn, see in the wild, take photographs of? What's that one fish for you?
The Benthachromis horii.
Cool. And last question is, where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you or your business or purchase some of your fish food or just even check you out on some social medias?
Yep, so you can find us at www.cunninghamtropicals.com online. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything under Cunningham Tropicals, and band as well.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's been much appreciated. I'm well aware that I believe it's Thanksgiving over there at the moment.
Yes, it is.
So
yes.
Thank you very much for that, for taking your time out of your Thanksgiving to be with us. It's greatly appreciated. So
no problem. Thank you very much for the invite. Enjoyed it very much.
Cool. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your day. So yeah. All right, and for everybody that is watching, oops, I pushed the wrong button, is watching still, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much for being with us for the year. Like I said, this will be the last Fanatics Coffee Date we do with a guest for the year. So we'll come back next year with some more guests and we'll have a happy time. So thank you very much. Happy fish keeping and catch you all later.
See ya.